All right, we are back, and I really didn't do anything because kind of where we stopped was where we need to continue. Oh, it is first thing in the morning, and I do not have any coffee. This should be really fun. I've got a bunch of water though, which is probably better than chugging coffee the first thing in the morning. So maybe this will be better than any of my previous videos. All right, so where we're at. We need to finally get to this new spec where we change residences, and so that means that when we go to create this residence, that it needs to have again some agreement between. And we're just going to do one person now, so we don't have to have agreement between two household members, but really just between two residences. What do I mean by that? Well, the way the form works currently is that you can have a county, just like we have up here. So let's say, it's just some county object, and then the residents, the months are going to be some combination of months. January can be true, February can be true, March might be false. And let's pretend there were only 3 months in the year. The other residents, again, the county is going to be a little bit different, but that's not hugely important. First of all, the initial way that the form would work is that only March would be true. So that's one thing, except here's where things get a little complicated. I'm trying to like comment out this curly brace. Here's where things get a little complicated, is that we are trying to build the final payload of the form, okay? And this is not how the final payload of the form needs to look. The final payload of the form needs to be like this. It needs to include all the months of the year, but just kind of so that every single month, if we looked at all of the months across all of the residences, that each month would have a true value. And so the way that the form is built up is like this, where it kind of starts with all of the months of the year. Some might be true, some might be false, and then each additional residence will only include the months that are true. That's not exactly true. It looks a little bit different than that, but this is the thing that we have to do. So what I'm going to do is probably start just from a really concrete place. All right. And so what am I going to do? I'm going to make a new file, and I'm going to say member residence.mock.ts. Make sure we export it from lib member residence.mock. It's complaining because there's nothing actually in that file yet, not because we like misspelled anything. And first of all, I'm going to pull create residence out. And remember that in order to expose this to another file, we do have to include the export keyword. It thought that was fine before because we didn't need the export key before because it was just in the same file. And so let's just make sure that we add these imports. Great, so we've got those imports, and then of course we can import those, and we don't need these imports up here. Cool. Faker, we're going to move to the top. And okay, so we've got kind of our just most basic primary household member. We've got our most basic secondary household member. But maybe we want to do something a little bit different here, where we actually have some other residence. Okay, so first of all, let's get rid of coverage, member coverage.mock.ts. This is not something that you necessarily have to do, but let's keep files small and let's try to follow the single, I'm typing export and saying export, the single responsibility principle, which is just a good way of saying, hey, if I need to if I have this create coverage function, let that live in its own module. This module is now entirely responsible for member coverage. And we'll just import that. Cool. Oop, get rid of that. And so now, what we kind of have is this household member that is just responsible for creating the household member mock. We have this member coverage, which is just responsible for, how about we do mock coverage instead of that. Let's see. Oh, that's so weird. So I changed, I did the type script, like change. It's like you hit F2, rename it, but now this is kind of like not happy with me. Restart ESLint. Let's do that. All right, so mock coverage, this should be mock residence, right? Great, ESLint is upset again. Just restart ESLint. Cool. So now we have mock residence. We do have this county. We might say like, well, let's move the county to its own file. I think it nicely falls underneath the residence, and this isn't like hugely different. This isn't super important that we change this now. But let's figure out how we can do like export const create mock residences, and that is going to return an array of residences. So let's see, const residences. Actually, let's do this. Let's just return, like we could do mock residence, right? And it's saying like, hey, you don't need the arrow body. And that's true. So let's just say const residence 1 equals mock residence, const residence 2 equals mock residence. And let's change these actually, we could do this residence 1, and let's just make sure the other one is residence 2. All right, so now with this, let's do export const member that moves, household member, and we're going to say, we're going to grab this whole thing. But for residences, we're going to say create mock residences. All right. And I think residence is missing the following properties from residence. That's not true. Residence 1, residence 2, it returns, maybe ESLint is the problem here. No? Maybe I'm misspelling it. Awesome. Expected assignment. I think there's something here. Type residence. Oh, I'm including this in the square brackets, but I don't need to. That's why it's happening. Cool. Because it was putting that array inside of an array. Okay, cool. So now a member that moves, create mock residences. Maybe we should actually change this to create different residences. What if we did that? And then we're kind of saying like very explicitly, hey, this is going to be 2 different residences. Residence 1, and maybe this shouldn't be mock residence because it's just kind of this generic thing, but maybe residence 1 needs to be and we'll say, just so we don't let TypeScript infer, we'll say this is a residence, and we're going to say county, create county, and the months are going to be January to, actually, let's do this. Let's just grab the whole thing, and then we'll edit. So that's residence 1. We can actually duplicate this whole thing starting from the colon. Cool. So there's residence 1 and residence 2. And residence 1 is going to have all false for the second half of the year. And residence 2 is going to have false for the first half of the year. Okay. The county should also change. So let's grab the county. By the way, I am recognizing here that I've done something that I've said don't do this, and I have prematurely abstracted these things, or done some premature step of, oh, create county is always going to be the same. And so what I needed to have done is really write these things out more times, write them out in the variety of usages that we're going to use them in, and then try to figure out the pattern, try to figure out how they can change. So I'm kind of undoing some work, which sometimes happens. That's what we do as software engineers. We do work and then we do rework. I just saw a great quote on Twitter yesterday. Something like good judgment comes from making bad decisions. In a nutshell, in order to gain the experience, to gain the good judgment, sometimes we have to use bad judgment, and that bad judgment comes from experience. So sometimes we have to make bad decisions to learn. All right, so we've got this const residence 2. Let's actually, just for a second, let's just actually go through the form and get a different, let's get a different zip code. So we've got 04003. Let's do 04001, and that is York County. So I'm just going to grab this real quick. Let's see, what is the FIPS code? Actually, I could have just done this, right? 04001, and we make a call here, and we'll just grab this whole thing. Cool. So we'll put this in for the other county. All right, so now we have they're living in Cumberland County for half the year and this other county for the other half of the year. And now what we can do, we've got these create different residences, the mock coverage is fine, different first name, array, that's all good. Now we can finally, with this payload that we know is, or we hope, is accurate and true to what we think the form should produce at the end and sent to the back end. Now we can finally get to our one member that moves. One member change residence TS, and it's got to be psi.ts. Cool. All right. So as I said before, we're just going to grab our whole one member because we know loosely it fits the same mold or fits the same model as our one member. And so let's do this. So the first thing that we want to do is make sure that we get this member that moves, right? It's not the mock primary member anymore. It's the member that moves. And maybe we should say primary member that moves. This probably isn't super critical that we say primary member that moves, but it just hit me that we copied over our non-primary member or secondary member with these with the fake relationship. So let's just make sure true. And this is going to be self. All right. The first name doesn't matter. The date of birth doesn't really matter as long as they're older than 19. The residences, this is specifically, hey, create different residences, and then the mock coverage. So we'll make sure that this is primary member that moves. Let's make sure that that's imported. Doesn't like that. Primary, okay, let's restart. ESLint, primary member that moves. Awesome. All right. So make a prediction right now. Do you think that this test is going to pass? I think it is going to make it all the way until the very end, except where we assert on the final payload value. And that's going to require us to write some production code, which we will do. So it gets all the way through. Cool. Uh-oh. It's asserting on this final body. And I can tell you that the thing that it's expecting, which is again the form value that we passed in, is where these residences look like this. It alphabetizes the property names, so we don't get that nice like all true and then all false, or all false then all true. That's residence 1 and then residence 2. But what did it actually get? Well, it got a limited. Oh, first of all, it only got it only got one residence where everything was true. And so the reason for that is because we don't actually do anything with additional residences or even the specific months that they use to check like which boxes. Now, the nice thing about all of the work that we've done up until this point is that this fill-in household form remains exactly the same. We're not going to touch that at all because the household form itself, or the spec that needs to fill in the household form, is not concerned about the implementation details of this household form. So we do need to go to the fill-in household form and look at this page, or look at this module and say fill in household page. Yep. Fill in member detail page, fill in member coverage page. Well, it's the member detail page that is the exported function that really deals with the filling out of the form, where we're concerned about residences and the months that they live there. So already I can tell you that if we were to continue to add steps here, this might get a little overloaded. Which, sorry, that's an actual programming term, like overloaded. Let's not use that. It will just get too long, and we'll just struggle maybe to figure out where in this code we need to change stuff in the future. And so I think in one of the previous videos, we said, hey, if you're a primary member, you've got a bunch of extra stuff to do. But if you're not a primary member, none of this stuff really exists. So everybody's going to fill in their date of birth, but only the primary member has to deal with residences. So why don't we go here, and why don't we say member residences? All right. And so we are going to say export const. And what have we done in the past? Fill in member detail page, fill in residences. And yes, GitHub Copilot, we are going to accept that as an input. Make sure that we import that type. And then I am going to grab this and take it out and just drop it in here. Ooh, all of a sudden you can see that we have a bunch of errors because we destructured and assumed that that county variable would just generally be available, but it's not. So we're gonna kind of get rid of this. Maybe we'll bring it back up here and kind of get rid of this and bring it up here. Oh, and also get rid of this and bring it up here. So now, let's see. So we've got an array of residences, right? Let's, for now, do this, because I think that that is going to allow us to just very quickly, yeah, let's do this. There we go. To just very quickly replace this with fill in residences. And it's going to be member.residences, right? Use destructured. Okay. Let's see. Const residences equals member, and we'll do that down here. We'll satisfy the linter. Residences. What doesn't it like about this? I'm doing array destructuring when I should do object destructuring. There we go. Cool. It's early. Bear with me. Thank you. All right. So now we actually, you know, our spec is still failing based on that final assertion of the body, but at the very least, what we've got is it's continuing to make it all the way through. And so now what we have to do is we have to generalize this a little bit to say, you know what, actually loop over the residences and make sure that for each residence, you type in the appropriate zip code and you select the correct counties. So right now we have this select all months, but we actually don't want to do that. And in fact, we probably never even need to do that. There is certainly maybe a fraction of a second savings of clicking the select all button, certainly for the user. If they know that they've lived in a location for all 12 months, great, click that button. But for us, using an automated testing framework, there's not a huge savings between clicking the select all and just clicking every single month in that list. So let's do this. The first thing that I think I want to do is bring up our residence. Let's see, the zip code. Just so I kind of have this template and I understand. Hey, we should be referring to this template. Actually, a lot of this stuff doesn't even need to be here anymore. Yeah. Cool. So that's probably good. All right. So the first thing is we definitely want to do some sort of looping over the residences, right? We did this with the member. Whoops. The member. Where did we do this? Coverage, detail, residences, somewhere. Here we go. So on the household page, we kind of looped over the members and we grabbed the index and the member and we did that. So we're going to do something very similar, and I'm just going to copy and paste some code. So const index residence of residences dot entry, and I should spell residences correctly. And so, residence is declared, already declared. Yep, let's get rid of that. And so most of this, I think, is going to live inside here, right? So just right off the bat, we want to loop over the residences and go through. And now what you can see on our test suite is it does successfully fill in that first residence. Cool. So it searched, it got the result. Don't forget we mocked the result. And oh, actually, psi.weight zip code search. Interesting. So let's see. So we need to replace some of our index references with the actual index itself. So let's do this. We're gonna put in template strings here, and we want to replace 0 with the index. All right, and so what it's saying now is that, so it's got down to get data psi zip code input 1. Well, why is it trying to get data psi zip code input 1? Well, because there's 2 residences in the list. And so probably, let's see, did we? All right, cool. So once it loops over all of the residences, it's going to navigate to the member coverage page. So we don't actually need to fill, we don't want to put this kind of navigation step into this abstracted fill-in method. So that's cool. We'll leave that out here. I was just kind of looking over here to see if it did that. So what's next? Well, if there is another residence, so we don't want to do this for the first residence, but if there is a second residence, we want to click add another location, which is right here. So at the very least, let's make sure that on the second time through that it adds another location. So if this is not the last residence, add another residence. So if, so how can we do this? There are probably a dozen different ways to do this. We could say, well, if the current index is less than the total length of the array. So if you're at index, no, let's see. So if you're at index 0, but the length is 2, that's not a great way to figure it out. So I think it is residences dot length minus 1. So if index is less than residences dot length minus 1, so that's like if residence dot length is 2, that would mean residence dot length minus 1 is 1. And if you're on index 0, you need to add another residence. And what is that button to add another residence? Well, unfortunately, it's not in the residence zip code component. I think it is in the household member residence component. This might have been an oversight. This might actually need to live in the residence months, but I think I added it out here because the validity of this button, I think, relates to both of these things. So I'm going to leave it out here for right now, but let's do data. Oops, I don't need an attribute. Data dash psi add residence. So let's do this. And then over here, actually, we've already got the data size, so we really just need add residence. So let's see what we get now. Cool. Okay. So it successfully added another location. it did some sort of like adding some search to the box. Let's see if we could like go back. Okay, it did so it selected it searched for 04001, and it did wait for the zip code search, but oh no, we stubbed this response with the wrong data, because again, we just started off from a very hard-coded place, a very concrete place. And so probably what we want to do, if we go back to household member, no, we don't need that. Member residences, we don't need this stuff. Household mock, household member, to household member. Let's kind of get rid of some of this stuff. What we need is the residence mock. We actually need this other county to be returned as a fixture. And so let's do this. I'm not sure if I can, yeah, I guess I could probably do some sort of interpolation here in the fixture, but let's come up here to our fixtures, and where it says zipcode.json, let's do 04003.json, and this one will be 04001.json, just so we can kind of like more easily reference them. And then of course this needs to be this. Cool. And so I might actually need to stop Cypress. Sometimes when you change like the fixtures, and I think we saw this in previous videos, but when you change the files like within the Cypress folder that it likes to have when it loads up, sometimes there's a chance that it just breaks or it doesn't recognize those new specs. All right, so we've got those new specs in there, and let's see if we can now generalize this to include, let's see, so can we do zip code.json? Let's see if that works. One member change residence. Sweet. Holy cow. That was awesome. So it got all the way through. It added both residences. That's fantastic. The thing that it's not doing yet, okay, is the months. All right. And I'm going to do this right now, and I'm sure you're thinking about this too. Is let's pull out the member months into its own file. So I'm going to say residence months.ts. Cool. And I'll bring that over here. And instead of filling in all the months, actually, let's just do that. Export const fill in residence months. And that is going to be, what is it going to be? Well, it's actually going to be months, and this is a record of month Boolean. And what are we going to do? Well, we are going to GitHub Copilot was trying to help me out there. Let's see, let's add in this month. So that comes from enroll shared types. And right now it's kind of saying like, hey, you're not actually using this. And that's true. Let's put this in, fill in residence months, and we need the residence dot months. All right. Fill in residence months. That is what we want. But we do need to import it from residence months. Okay. What does this not like? Oh, awesome. Months. It says, hey, destructure that property. Cool. All right. So we've got this now. What happened to the FIPS? Where did the FIPS go? Why are we not using that anymore? I guess we'll find out. Household form. Where did FIPS go? It was the, cool. I got it. It was filling in the residence months. We grabbed the wrong thing. Where did this go? Yeah, right here. This is the thing that we should have grabbed. Sorry, I grabbed that, but I should have grabbed this. There we go. Okay, so months. Oh, but it needs the FIPS code. Interesting. All right, so then we have to pass in the county as well. Marketplace. Or maybe we'll just pass in the FIPS code. FIPS string. All right, so we'll pass those both in. And so in order to do this, we're going to say fill in residence months and FIPS and months. And we've got a destructure. Cool. Okay. So member residences, it does not like that this is not being used. Console.log months. There you go. That's how to do it. Still does not like, this should have been zip code. Cool. Okay. So we're back over here, one member residence. Let's just double check that this still works. So it's just selecting all both times. That's totally fine because that's what we told it to do, select all. But now what we actually need to do is we need to read in this record type of the months, and we actually need to go through and select just the ones that we actually need to select. And so let's see if we can do Cypress checkbox. So I like to just pull up the API guide or the API documentation on checkboxes. And so check it out. Check it out. Did not mean to say that. This element must be an input with type checkbox or radio. That's cool. We do have those type checkbox. The value that these are going to have are Boolean values, true and false, right? So let's see. We can check. We can pass in a value. We can pass in options. So we can get type checkbox and check. We can get type radio and check. So how are we going to grab these? Well, let's see. So the value is CA. The value is US. In these checkboxes, the form control, because this is Angular, the form control is going to have the name of the form control, but the value is just going to be determined by whether it's checked or not. Check the checkboxes. Check an invisible. Find a checked option. Let's see. Check. Just kind of roll through here. Oh, there's also uncheck. So that's cool. So here's kind of what I'm thinking is we would just loop through the record and kind of do like a get. Oh, I'm not showing the documentation. So that we would. Here's my approach: is we're going to loop through the record and we're going to get the particular checkbox. That didn't really help very much. So we're going to get the checkbox, and each one should be specifically selectable. You know, we could do its ID. We could also do something like, yeah, we've already, well, we should really do data.sci, right? So let's do this. We need to add to every single one of these. So we're going to bind to the data sci attribute equals, and we're going to do FIPS plus, and then the month. So Jan, something like that. And this is going to be Feb, and this is going to be March. Yes, a lot of manual typing. Could I have looped through? Could I have like taken the record and looped through? And I totally could have done this. And we should do that at some point. But it's not going to happen right now. April, May, June, July, August, September. November, December. Sweet. Okay, so now we've got our months, and let's just get rid of all of this. And so, can we do this? Object.entries month? No. But we can do for const month in months. Will months? No. That's okay. Actually, the string will work. So we're going to loop over the months and months. We're going to do sci.get, and we are going to do a selector. We're going to do data sci equals the FIPS code, and then the month. And then what are we going to do? Are we going to check it or uncheck it? Well, how about if so we're looping over the months. If months.month doesn't like that. So we basically want to say so that's how we get the month, but how do we get the value? This is the question. So if we just did this, does it not like that? Foreign should be wrapped. Yeah, that's true. But let's disable that for a second. So what do we get if we try to do that? So it does nothing. Cool. Because I think we're missing a. Yeah, that's cool. So this should just check them all, I believe. Nope. Data sci 23005. Let's inspect. Just see. Ooh, that got really small. Data sci. Oh, we're missing the. Dang it. So we'll go to do this. Kind of select all of those and then add our dash because we were missing the dash and restart our test. Cool. Okay. So it did select them all. That's awesome. And of course, it can't select any of the additional ones. So that's fine. So here's what we need to do. We have this object of month and value. And what we need to do is month true? Const is month true? And there we go. Month as month. Cool. And then we're going to say if is month true, and we're going to check it. How about that? Wow, nice. Cool. Okay. So I think actually we're gonna take a break here and we're gonna stop the recording because I think that this has gotten us to the point where you know what? This is now doing what we want the form to do. So we've added enough or we've enhanced our ability to fill out forms sufficiently to where, okay, now this fills the form out the way we want it to be filled out. And the last thing that we should do, of course, is kind of bring these changes over to our 1 member and our 2 member. So actually, do we have to do anything different? Do we have to update our other specs? No, we shouldn't, because now we might have broken something and we might need to fix something else, but we shouldn't have to update this top level spec. We're just filling in the household form. The form doesn't care that we've now enhanced things underneath to handle multiple residences or whatever. So we really just want to do like 1 member household and double check that this goes through. Cool. And our 2 member household. Great. And of course, our 1 member change residence does make it all the way through to the end of the form, but does not actually pass the spec, because we are at the point now where we do actually have to write some production code to make sure that the form is being transformed in the correct way. So we're going to take a break here, and then we'll come back and write some production code.